Hey, if you are not a basketball fan and if you don't live in the United States, you might not be too familiar with what is known as March Madness, the annual college tournament that dominates the sports landscape for 3 weeks here every spring. There are always upsets, or Cinderella teams as they're referred to, and this year that is a small Catholic school from Chicago called Loyola. They have made it to the Final Four thanks in part to a little divine inspiration. Here's Coy Wire.
Don, listen to this. Loyola-Chicago hadn't even qualified for the tournament in over 30 years, but the prayers of their biggest fan, 98-year-old Sister Jean, are being answered. Their team chaplain for nearly a quarter century. She leads them in prayer before games and gives them scouting reports of opponents. I was at their game Saturday, and I saw Loyola-Chicago, a bunch of underdog kids with chips on their shoulders because they've been overlooked since their youth days. And they were always told they're not tall enough, not talented enough. They weren't highly recruited or recognized. Well, listen to this. Two of their stars revealed after the game that that's still pretty much the case.
In the hotel yesterday, a girl came up and said, "Hey, can I get a picture with you guys?" She goes, here, mister, can you take the picture?" She handed the phone to him. And she goes, "Are you on the team?" And I was like, come on, man.
Don, I've never seen more jaws dropped at a sporting event in my life. A fairy tale performance. The Ramblers played with more passion, more hustle, and seemingly more want-to than their opponents. So even though Kansas State, their opponent, was bigger, more athletic than they were, the underdog still came out on top. They and their faithful fans are headed to the Final Four for the first time since 1963. And that year, Don, the team won the national championship.
It's unbelievable, man. I can't believe that we're doing this right now. It's surreal to have all these Loyola people here and stuff. When we got here 2 years ago, there was not anybody in the crowd for our games.
Coach Moser's wife, Megan, told me that these kids do things the right way. They deserve this. Noah Kelly plays saxophone in the Band of Wolves. He said it still feels like he's dreaming, while the director, Dr. Rick Lowe, said his kids, just like the fans and players, embrace their roles with tireless passion and excellence. Doc gave me the band's homemade cutout of Sister Jean's head to use while we share this story, as long as I get it back to him in time for the Final Four in San Antonio. I met with Sister Jean after the game, and she was elated. I told her that she's always praying for others, but I told her that people are praying for her too. I said a prayer for her, but it was she and her Cinderella team that lifted my spirit. Sister Jean is going dancing.
It feels great. I feel very emotional about the whole thing, but that doesn't stop me from talking. I keep saying, you know, be careful, San Antonio. The Ramblers are on their way.
Don, Loyola-Chicago is just 2 games away from becoming national champs. This year's Cinderella isn't wearing glass slippers and a gown. She's wearing Velcro sneakers, and she and her team are draped in faith.
Coy, that is absolutely brilliant.